I'll have to figure out the lighting, but I'll keep my blue face where it's at.
You mean eventually we'll hire a producer so that we can just come, sit, and chat and let someone else deal with all this shit?
Yeah, the next thing we do is gonna get a producer, I think.
Yeah.
But we're live now, so
Oh,
let's
we're
talk.
live.
Yeah, let's talk lore. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Roll high and subscribe.
Yeah, roll high, subscribe if you haven't. Hit that button. Um, Chris,
I'm I'm Chris. Wait, which direction do I point? I'm going
left,
up.
right, up, down. I'm Spencer. Welcome back. Let's, you know, we um we discuss things Dungeons and Dragons, and tonight the opener because I am ill, my whole family is ill,
Same with
you're
me.
ill.
My whole family's ill.
What a better topic! Like it's like it burns, it burns. Like
I
I have
have
disadvantage on a lot of things.
I have my cup of lozenges if I need them.
Yeah, I have sips of water. Stay
Yeah,
hydrated.
absolutely.
Um,
I got the big boy tonight, don't worry.
so I haven't done any research. I usually do research, but that's because our second segment tonight is going to be about our homeroom campaign, and that I spent a while researching. It's going to be awesome. But
Yeah.
illness and
So,
sickness in Dungeons and Dragons.
so my experience with illness and sicknesses, and I like to throw curses into this whole conglomerate of like negative effects that can happen to people or players. A lot of the times it's, hey, you have this thing. Oh, cool, it's done with the spell. All right, that's done. Just a waste of resources now. And it feels like it's just thrown on there just for the hell of it. It doesn't really have a an impact or a lasting impact.
Right.
And features that certain classes have, like paladins, you're immune to disease and everything else. I'm like, that really doesn't do much because if you get something, you just cure yourself, or someone else can just spend a second level spell and you're good. Um, so I've always wanted to find a way to make diseases or um, not necessarily curses, because curses are always fun to play with. If you're a
Right.
Dungeon Master, curse every magic item you have. Thank me later. Uh, what some of the most fun I've had with a player is a the Berserker Battle Axe in my Icewind Spire or Icespire Peak campaign. Our
Right.
barbarian with an axe that made him go insane and attack everyone. And it was the best role play of everyone trying to help them and really brought the party together. So these elements of like a player having a thing that they need help with is a really nice thing to bring the whole party together.
I think yes. If so, I've never done an illness like an illness in a game. And I would imagine I'm thinking like what would be like a immersive, cool way to do an illness. And I like your idea of like um, sort of like the items that you were talking about
Yeah.
and how the illness doesn't necessarily have to be okay. Hey man, you have a cold
Yeah.
and you are going to be coughing, so maybe you have like this. I mean, that could be cool already.
All
Like
right.
you're going to be coughing every few minutes and you know negative on deceptions and stuff like that, or sneaking around. But it could be like the whole group. You're traveling in a swamp, you get the flu, or you're traveling in the cold, and like those of you who are not um, didn't
Used to
go
the
to the
cold.
item shop
Yeah.
and get the fur are
Yeah.
now sick, and like you
Mhm.
guys are going to suffer. It doesn't
Well,
have to be, it could be anything. It could be like negative HP, but it could also be like what you're saying, sort of like a curse. Like,
yeah.
okay, this flew from the Everglade area of the
Well,
swamps. Like,
you're living in
you
a
know,
land with magic, have magical diseases. I
oh
mean,
yeah,
a lot of like the diseases or like um negative effects. I don't know if it would be called disease, but one of my characters got was mummy rot, and it's a
mummy
very
rot.
horrible thing. Yeah. It's like, all right, you're gonna die within 24 hours. Good luck. Like, all right,
Well,
like having some time to sort something out or find a cure, it's a whole other adventure on itself. So
yeah,
don't just let that disease or whatever it is just be an annoyance.
It doesn't
Let it
have to.
be
Yes.
something a hook to pull to something else.
Thank you, Chris. So you're bringing it back. So the reason why, all of our topics we sort of tailor towards the immersive and role-playing atmosphere, not just role-playing, but the immersive quality of a flu. Like you don't want to just say, "Hey, man, you have a flu, negative features," but like, you know, what about the flu? Is there something, how do you cure it? First off, how do you cure it? Like,
Yeah. Like or for
are,
example
are
of
you
like
familiar with it?
you start feeling like you're having a cold or you get sick and the normal methods that normally cure stuff of like, oh, I cast lesser restoration and you still feel sick. You don't get the congestion. Like it's like you took Sudafed. The symptoms go away for a little and then they come back. And you go into town and you ask around and doctors like, oh, this is a rare disease. You have to go get these herbs from high up in the mountains to help cure it. There
Right.
you go. You have an adventure to go collect the
Yeah.
medicine to help cure yourself.
And I like it. I like the affecting the whole group. Remember, they are
Hmm.
contagious. So
Yeah.
like, and then I like the time limit aspect of it. There's a certain amount of time
Oh,
before you become exhausted. There's
I love
certain
the contagion side. I didn't think about that.
yeah
You start spreading a plague and then you have to try
yeah
and
or
solve it quick enough before it spreads too far.
the village is sick. Like
Yeah, you oh
world
the
building aspect
yeah.
of an illness is hilarious.
Hmm. I love it.
There's like there's so much you can do with just a simple cold. I mean, look at like what happened in 2020, the coronavirus. It's
Yeah.
like wow, and then you can add on to that and just take from the real world and say, okay, this guy thinks that there's a cure for it, and he's mandating that everyone chug the water from like the Hell's Deep or whatever, and then all
Yeah.
of a sudden like people are starting to turn into demons, but they
Yeah.
blame the virus and blah blah blah, and the whole thing could get out of hand, and also in a very good way because you
Yeah.
can create your own
Well,
world,
that's
your
when the
own
fun
your own
stories
story to
happen and when
it.
random shit happens that you're not planning.
It's hilarious. I think illness is something that's not explored too much. I haven't really run into it besides like being sick right now and you're sick. It's funny that we have the same, but just look at it. Like you and I have the same. I think you and I have the same exact like cold right now, and that has traveled from Florida to New York. Just imagine that happening in your own little world. It like connect.
Yeah.
It's a way to connect. Like it's the way to connect things and flow to different areas too. It's pretty.
Well, and
You
you
know.
can help um tell the grander scale of how your world interacts with each other. Of like how that disease traveled through the world is the way of certain types of travel or certain um trading routes between two cities and how they interact with the environment, the waterways, and how they reach other towns and other peoples.
Yeah,
It's not just like it spreads like expansive around, it travels with the people in all these ways, and you see how the world is interconnected,
for sure.
how the world reaches from Florida all the way to New York.
the, I'm gonna now. I need to do a plague, not a plague, but like, you know,
You already have a plague.
the West Nile virus, right? They name it after. It's easy world building. They name it after the area that it comes from, right? So
Hmm.
it's like we haven't gone to Everglade, the Everglade virus. Like, it doesn't. Does it? Is it always negative?
No.
You know?
Oh. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like, come on. Like sometimes,
Ooh.
you know,
Well, there
sometimes you.
could be a symptom that makes you more charismatic that helps it spread. I
Yeah.
mean, the thing I always love to go come back to when I'm trying to like break out of the box of what my mind thinks is in this reality of we're in a magical world.
Yes.
Everything, all these concepts that we think of say it's a magical this. Like, okay, it's a magical virus. It's a magical flute. It's like you can do anything with that once you make it magical because
Oh
magic
yeah.
can do anything in this world. In our world too, magic can do anything. I'm floating.
Well, it's like yeah, you can have pluses and minuses to it.
Yeah.
Help with the world building experience. But I mean, I just think that there's so much to it that I mean, it doesn't seem like that a simple virus could open up the whole realm or the whole world or connect it, but it certainly can. And if your guys are stuck in an area, or you're getting bored, or you just want to throw some random mischief into the campaign, I think having
Yeah.
someone come down with the Everglade swamp
Evergate,
virus.
Everglade bumps.
Yeah, all of a sudden, like, you're ill, but you can speak like Toad or whatever, and just so
Get a
happens that, like,
random growth on your neck that
yeah,
slowly starts to talk.
this bard comes into the group and sings a song, and, like, you notice that, like, in the morning there's a couple toads around, and then everyone gets sick, and they go for their next long rest, and there's more toads. It turns out that you guys are spawning toads, and all of a sudden, like, warts start growing out, and there's a
All
virus, and
right.
now you get, tangent
Next
alert,
time I
you know
see, next time I hear you describe a small animal that's just irrelevant to the story in great detail, my character is going to murder that immediately.
I don't even, I have to come up with a different tangent. I got threat alert, threat DM threat alert. But for those of you who don't know what the tangent alert is, here it is, because I just went off on one. That's hilarious. Yeah, so I feel like that's, we can come back to it. I'm definitely
Well,
gonna
I think
definitely
it's
gonna
a great
introduce it.
starting point to think to like sit and think with those
Yeah,
ideas
I think it's
and
great.
try and develop some diseases or curses or plagues or something that can create that change in the world or change in the environment or a way to get your players from point A to point B or
Yeah, oh yeah,
to tell a different part of the story.
oh yeah. Introducing NPCs.
See,
I mean,
absolutely.
you know, like, hey, I'm the last survivor from this area. Like, I know the cure is in town, but, like, watch out for blah blah blah, and, like,
Or
you could.
you need to go talk to this old sage up in the mountains to go help cure you of this, and the only way up there is a hard trek, and then they become your guide for the second half of the whole campaign.
I mean,
Who
anything's
knows?
possible. But say
Anything's
that's
possible.
the little taste of Dungeons and Dragons illnesses and flus. And Chris, you have anything else, like, to add to it? I mean, I just think it's like it
It's
was sort of like a weird topic in the sense that it was really small to me, and then
well, it's
we
something
ended up
that
just blowing it up. It was
well,
hilarious.
it's something that's it's hard to really implement because there's so many ways to just make it not worth throwing it in there. And it's like anytime there's something like that in the game, for me, it's never worth it to put in if it's just going to be annoying and something that you just want to get rid of so you can keep going on with what you're doing.
Oh yeah,
But having it be a method for telling a different part of the story. It's another tool, just like a battle or a plot hook or a MacGuffin or any other tool that you have, like a magical plague, a curse, disease is a motivation. And something else that we talked about that has popped up on our feed from we talked about before is time. Like what you mentioned earlier. It really you can set a sense of urgency if you need to. If everyone's just like you're saying, if you need to get them to moving, if there's hanging around in town not really wanting to do something, you want players just get out of the town, go do something else. Give them a sense of urgency to do something.
there it is. Urgency, urgency, and illness. Today, when I woke up and I was ill and I went to work, I was like, I have a high sense of urgency to get as much coffee and tea into this throat as possible so that I can just get through what I have to get through. And,
And yeah, and when you're sick in our world, you have an urgency to feel better because it sucks to feel
yes.
sick.
Yeah, and, like, how do you role play that? Obviously, if you have good, not if good players, but, like, if you have, like, experience enough to know, like, fun role play, like, the guy's gonna have a scratchy voice, and, like, how
Like,
do you go through a village that's afraid of the virus, and you guys all have scratchy throats? Who's doing the
yeah,
talking?
yeah.
Because they're gonna
Like
kill
how are
whoever.
you trying
That
to
is so
cover that
cool.
up?
I'm totally gonna do that, dude. I'm totally gonna do that. This whole village is gonna kill whoever comes in it with the virus because that's the only way they know how to contain it. And the telltale sign is frogs for whatever reason follow you, and you have scratchy voices and maybe words depending on the role. But there you have
We'll
it.
see.
Right? Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
certainly see. We will certainly see. Roll high, subscribe if you haven't. We're going to just hang out for a brief moment before we start our next segment, which is going to be dynamite. I'm very excited for this one. Um, I had a question.
Yep.
We are going to, let me see. I'm going to try to set this light real quick because it's blasting me, which I don't mind being blasted, but you know. How how what did you want to talk about in specifics with um the skulls? Like,
Well, I didn't know how much because I know we talked about the idea, the concepts of it before,
mhm.
but I didn't know how detailed you got with everything. And I know the first thing that we're doing when you guys see Stack again is he's gonna shove that skull up his nose into his brain. So I wanted to make sure that you were prepared as you always want to be for
Of
that
course.
ridiculousness. And
So,
this is the first time this is happening, so it's a really big event. And this is going to set the precedent for other stuff to come.
okay. So
So,
I think I have somewhat of an idea where to go here.
well,
Okay.
I think oh, we'll
No.
talk about it live.
Yeah. Um okay, second segment. Let's talk lore. I'm Spencer, this is Chris. We are going
Hello.
to do an in-depth finally. Okay, finally, it has been. We've been playing a campaign, homebrew, and we're
Where'd it go?
learning as we go. And we are going to be
I can't find my
talking
green
about
skull.
the Green Skull. Now, for those of you who don't know about the story, I don't want to bore everyone with the big campaign. You can follow along and just read the descriptions in the YouTube channel. Essentially, there are three skull-shaped emeralds that items that that the characters are trying to find, and we've found three of them. One of them is the green skull. Now,
Yep.
each character is specifically drawn to that skull, and I did background research prior to starting the campaign 3.5 years ago, 85 sessions ago, um, and I wanted to have each skull symbolism. It was cool. I got to learn about like skull, like the symbolism of skull, and it, like in
And
the
all
world,
the
it just
crystal skull lore that's
yeah,
in the world.
it's crazy. Yeah, it's like skulls in certain religions are obviously death, and other it's knowledge and power. And then there's like in the Celtic religion, which is what sort of what Doomhand's background is, Celtic. I don't know why I chose that. I just did. It was pretty cool. The three holes in the skull are representative of a little bit sort of like the Trinity, but not exactly represent. But it's more of like family oriented, which is really really cool. So I wanted to have that aspect of the skull and the symbolism of the skull, as well as the color green. And what does the color green mean in different religions and the symbolism of it? Like off the top of your head.
Green of prosperity, uh, life of no.
Like nature.
Yeah, I was like in
But
my head,
what?
I think of like the plants growing, of
Yes,
everything flourishing,
right.
of yeah, just like that vibrancy
And then there's
of
also like
life.
negative traits to it too. It's like envy and
Mm.
greed, cash money, yo. Um, there's like darker shades of like different shades. It's like rot.
Oh,
So
I
with the
think
power of nature comes it's full throttle. It's not just like the strength of the nature, but it's
yeah,
also it's constantly in decay as well, and fragile
it's
sort of.
the imbalance of that energy, that green energy, that nature love
Right.
energy. If it's too much, it overtakes everything. If it's not enough, it rots down,
Right.
decays, but when it's that right middle spot, it's just beautiful and harmonious.
Yes. So I think like so like healing there's also like a wisdom aspect but when you get into like the symbolism of like each color they mean everything but like really what does it mean in our cultural aspect when it comes to like also like a little bit of gaming but also Zelda it's all
Yeah.
nature and stuff like that and
Yeah.
trees and stuff but there's a little bit more you know health but also decay there's um, a whole bunch of stuff, and I had something written, but I guess it's too much. But it's just there's a lot to it, but not And I try to like incorporate them into the skull. So as we go, the first thing I wanted to talk about was how. So your character has found the skull, and
Yes.
you know it's important. I don't know if you know. I,
He's
if
gonna be studying it this whole time he's in
yes,
Trigard.
yeah,
So if like I'm gonna happily be able to roll like a long series of checks for all the shit he's been doing back there. But like he would have been studying, so if he could find information about it, it would be that information that you're.
I I think so. But is the book that you got about the skulls in general? Or is
I
it
I
tailored towards the green skull? Or do we just say we found notes on the skull?
I think we just said that um what's his name? I forgot the king, the masterful
Lololo.
king's name, King Lololo. It's like how could I not remember his name?
the,
Um
the highest
it's like
stats I've ever rolled, and you can check out the NPC creation
yeah.
YouTube channel. That was hilarious. It's a little bit boring to like watch the whole thing, but if you go to just the stats section, ridiculous. I think the lowest one was like 16. It was crazy, and rightfully so. But um, did what book was it?
I think it was just going to be researching like all of there and just a book of Ball
Yeah.
and just like the mythology of the skulls, I
Yes.
think.
Okay.
So
So
there's
you're
no, my understanding is there's no real information about the partial
lore.
amnesia
So you're gonna
or
have
the like the deeper lore of the skull.
okay. So what your guy is going to know
Well,
is like the
also,
whole lore aspect of it. It's been 1,000
I'm
years or whatever.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you, Stag does have a spell called Legend Lore. Let me pull this up and I'll read you this just so you have an idea when you start doing stuff.
What is
So,
legend lore?
Legend Lore, you name this, you have this, I always see it as you have this object, but the spell brings you to your mind a brief summary of the significant lore about this thing. The lore might consist of current tales, forgotten stories, or any secret lore. Yeah, and this spell, if the thing you named isn't of legendary importance, and I think this skull is, if it's not legendary importance, you get no information. The more information you already have about the thing, the more precise and detailed the information you receive is.
Okay. So that's going to be something that I'm going to do live
Yeah,
because I don't know when
yeah.
you're going to do it, you know.
Well,
But
well, that I said I think I probably would do while I'm in Trigard, like doing my study, like reading the book and then just like observing the
you're going to
skull,
get a lot of
studying it.
information.
Oh, when we get back, it's gonna
But
be
you're not
you're gonna read a lot to me.
you're not going to get um, just information on the Green Skull. You're going to get the information and rumors, not necessarily fact. There's going to be note. There's going to be a. It's going to be like an old book, but with notes in it. And
Yeah.
I think the roll that you roll for or the spell that you cast, you're going to be able to understand those notes. So you're going to have
Okay.
you're going to know somewhat of the whereabouts of the remaining skulls, and
Oh,
also are there more than just the six that I have
yeah.
given you,
Planned.
which
Yeah.
is really cool because uh, random tangent alert. um, there are 4 players, 5 players. There's a sixth skull. So whose is
Well,
that?
we do know that Doomhand
Right. Is
wants the Black Skull.
yes.
And
Um,
and spoiler alert, Doomhand is a Skull Force ninja.
I'm gonna take that away somehow. Yes, Skull Force Ninja. That was my way of doing Power Rangers, but that's for another topic.
But there's
Um,
only three of us left.
yeah. So let's talk about getting the skull inside you. So you have this green
Okay,
skull; it's powerful. Now your
right.
character's going to know we're going to get into what the effects are of when it gets inside
Yeah.
you
So
in a
yeah,
second.
Stag is only gonna know about like that aspect of it.
Two aspects.
Yeah.
One is the the ritual. So I think that each skull, because you are essentially going to be becoming a sage. So the sages
Hmm.
are the holders and guardians of the skull, users of the skull. They're essentially those who are tuned with the skull, are the sages of the skull, its protector. There
Or
are, and the only
like
way
its
to,
chosen one.
right, and the only way to do that is to put it physically into your head. And you can
Hmm.
do that in three ways that we know about so far. Stag knows two from reading his book. One of them is the ritual. Now, there's going to be a certain steps to the ritual, and I was preparing this. There's the preparation, and there's a bunch of checks. There's a check that you need to do, and hopefully you do the
Yeah,
role play and stuff. And I will help you with that with your,
absolutely.
there's going to be a incantation of some kind. You
Hmm.
have to speak the words to get it in. So you have to prepare your body and do a wisdom save. And I was
You
just
just
pulling.
like you just like having me sing random Backstreet Boys
Yes,
songs, don't
of
you?
course, of course, yeah. They definitely Backstreet Boys is gonna come back out. But it's so this is what I came up with: a wisdom check, the ritual preparation, wisdom check. So you have all bunch of visions of green fields and endless forests and forgotten knowledge that you don't know about or whatever.
Hmm.
You see a bunch of different visions I'll give you when we play. And now you have to roll an insight check to interpret that. And if you fail, you'll get, there will be effects. If you fail it, not that the failing is not going to stop you from getting it, but you'll start feeling whispers. You'll hear whispers and you'll have exhaustion and stuff like that.
So it's like so the whole thing is going to be like a skill check across
Yeah,
all of this. So you'll have successes and failures, and in the end, you'll figure out all the things that happened
right,
based on how many times you succeeded or failed during the study and process.
right. And like, are you going to
Yeah,
get interrupted in this? I don't know. Um, and it's okay if we make changes to it because I don't know.
yeah.
Does it need to be, the next step is going to be your spoken incantation. Can you recite what it is that needs to be said in it? And now you can make your own thing up, I think. But you'll have to do an intelligence check. I don't know
Mhm.
exactly what, or maybe do you want me just to give you something to read and just say, well, what you were trying to say is this, or maybe I'll read it to you and you have to say it back to me, you know,
Oh,
that type of thing
a real
for the
life
for the role.
intelligence check? Thank you.
Yeah, but you, but like you'll roll it, and if you get
Yeah.
it, I'll just say this is what you
Well,
say. But if you don't, go ahead and say it.
I'll fi
um,
I don't know.
and
Like,
then the failure for that is going to be some psychic damage, and you'll lose some intelligence. You'll lose some temporary intelligence as your mind becomes fragmented, as it readies to like absorb and become one with the skull. It breaks,
oh,
and your intelligence check is to see if you can
hold it
handle
all
that,
together.
hold it all together. And if you
That's
can't,
cool.
but these are high rolls.
Yeah.
So like do you stop here and wait for that to end before
Or like
moving
give yourself
further into
time
it?
to try and
Yes,
like instead of just like, all right, I can keep going, push through
right.
this. All right, I need to hold on like sit back, rest a
So
little, recover, and then go
right.
back
So
into it.
you failed
Mm.
the wisdom save of 16, right?
Yeah.
Now you're at level of exhaustion, but you feel like you've interpreted the visions of the
Yeah.
incantation. Maybe that's where you learn it from. And do you move forward? You know you guys have to do some stuff, and it's one d6 days of exhaustion. So now you got to figure like, what do you do? Uh,
Ooh.
yeah,
Oh,
maybe a 1d4, maybe 1d4.
no,
I don't know.
I like that.
Yeah, because listen, it's
It's
to
not.
become a
This is
sage.
not supposed to be easy.
No, it's not. No, it's
That's
not.
another random DM tip. Don't make everything easy.
No,
Make things
absolutely.
fucking as hard as possible.
Yes. So then you move on to the next thing. You take a bunch of psychic damage, 4d6 psychic damage if you fail, and then you lose intelligence. Do you stop there and move on? Do you absorb that? Do you continue to attune on
Hmm.
your own and then come back to do the bonding of the mind, the bonding of the mind and bone? So this part, and I'll change it, but this part is going to be, um, it melts into your forehead. You put it up, now you're
Yep.
bonding with it. It melts
Mm.
into your forehead and into your brain. You have to do a Constitution save, a high
Like
one.
over the next 1d 20 days or something, it slowly
Yeah,
seeps in deeper.
yeah.
So it's like
Can
at
you
every point, it just like part way out of your head.
can you withstand the immense pain and fusion of this? And
Oh.
I feel like this bonding experience is going to be the same for every skull. It will be different roles
Hmm.
for the type of skull you have. And I
Yeah.
think Constitution, I think Intelligence and Wisdom sort of are representative of the color green, more so
Hmm.
than
Yeah.
Dexterous and,
Charisma.
Charisma. I don't.
Even though that's
Maybe.
all of Stag's stats.
Yeah.
As you're
Um,
saying that, I'm like, oh shit, Stag's dumb stats are intelligence, wisdom, and charisma.
when you fail your Constitution save, you fall unconscious for 1d6 hours, and
Mm.
you suffer a permanent sensitivity to bright light. So
Oh.
any perception checks during the day are done at disadvantage.
Yeah, so you get the old school drow kobold light sensitivity.
Yes.
I like that.
Once you, however, because it's hard, once you get there, you have a unique role playing effect that I came up with.
Yep. Okay.
It's called Seeker of the Truth. The character occasionally hears whispers of ancient knowledge, but
Hmm.
must roll a charisma check whenever they attempt to recall it.
I love this.
On a
This is
fail, the knowledge turns against them. Now it says DM's discretion. I was looking up all this stuff. I don't know how to interpret that exactly,
well,
but
what I was thinking, I know this is something we talked about before when we were just brainstorming stuff about the skull, is there has been many sages in the past. And just like anything powerful, whoever possesses it isn't always a good person. So
right.
it could be the charisma check, and if you fail it, you didn't understand who you're connecting to, and maybe you connect to one of those evil sages that were
Yeah,
there.
and the voice sounds the same or something.
Yeah, it's still you think it's a helpful sage, you think you know it's a sage, but you don't know if they're a good or a bad person. You don't
Right.
know if they're going to try and help you or try and screw you over
Here's a
because
world
they want to
building.
kill you
Yeah,
and take over you over.
here's a world building. You hear whispers of Gabriella, the good sage, when you have a good charisma check.
Yeah,
When you have a bad one, perhaps you hear a different voice. Who is that?
yeah,
Maybe it was another sage.
you don't know.
Um, when you attune to, I
Interesting.
mean, so there's that was the first method, the ritual,
Yeah.
and you're going to learn all about
Well,
that, and your character will know
I
that,
I
and your
think
character will be able to
yeah,
tell other people about that.
it's a question. The possibility of death during the ritual.
Very high.
Okay, good.
So I have to incorporate that portion of it
Yeah, okay.
because you're already at 46 psychic damage. I think that if you roll a, I was going to say natty one on any of these rolls, it's not necessarily dead, but it opens a doorway to another like how can these guys help you? If
Well,
you roll a natty one, does the skull break, disappear? If you roll
I
a natty
mean,
one, do you
if
just
if this
die?
if this whole thing is like a skill check, and on when I run skill checks, a nat 1 or a nat 20 is it basically like counts as a double success or a double failure. So for in my mind, on whatever task you're doing, say it's remembering or like trying to understand the words, whatever like a failure would be of you can't speak the words, um, that effect amplified of like it's a language that you can't understand and your mouth just can't put the words out there. So maybe you have to find someone who can teach you that a language so that you can be able to speak it, to be able to try and do that of like your whole on a nat one, your whole ritual is just stop now because you cannot complete the incantation until you figure something out to try and continue on it.
I think that's a great. I think like each one of these will have a nat one roll. So the ritual
Yeah.
preparation, ritual nat one, you're not ready.
Yeah.
You're not ready. You need to, you know, you need to go long rest a couple more. You need to, come back in 1D whatever
No, you
days.
like what you said, you get for that, you get ex as you're trying to set up this ritual, you become exhausted for
Overwhelmed. Yeah.
yeah, overwhelmed and you have a panic attack and you become exhausted and can't do anything for a D6 days. You
Invocation.
can't get,
Yeah.
yeah,
The invocation then is not just psychic damage and a reduction in intelligence. It'll also be you don't know the ritual.
or in addition, not just the psychic damage, maybe you gain a vulnerability.
Yeah.
Maybe this is where you start throwing in those detrimental effects.
Yeah. And then the third
But
one,
I am,
the third one might be just death.
yeah,
If like melding
I
from your head, it
I
just
think at like a
explodes.
certain point in
Yeah.
there, like the first couple of rolls, it's like warning of there are very bad things if you suck at all of this.
Yes.
So definitely like having a really bad negative effect if you fail horribly the first couple ones, because there's a
Yeah.
lot to go.
Yeah. And you're gonna
But
roll.
but
You're gonna
then that
roll.
really makes him think of like how can I gain the most benefits to these roles? Get all the magic I can, all the help I can.
I'd like to be able to see the roll, so I might force you to do it on Tabletop Simulator. On the, I'll create a good,
Oh,
I'll create a good,
absolutely.
I'll create a good, I'll get something, I'll download something for you. So, but before we get into it, because there's other options here. The other method besides the ritual is the trial of Emerald Brutality. And this is the old trick of the forceful impact insertion. No partial amnesia, total recall element used. This
Yeah.
is just taking it
Shoving it in.
and smashing it against your head as hard as you can in the most brutal fashion. You'll have a DC 20 strength check. Um, I don't know if I mean that might work for the barbarian, um, and break through and it breaks through the bone and it forces the crystal in. The failure, and this might be death. Um, the skull fractures and it deals 6d6. Now I might just go ahead and up that to like a ridiculous amount, and because you might be able to survive. You guys have medical staff on
Well,
hand.
the skull is trying to it wants to fuse with the skull. It wants to
Right.
fuse with the host. The thing that came to my mind is if it shatters, it's going to have all these shards all right there. Let's pull inspiration from some movies. Iron Man. All the little metal shards that how he
Yes.
puts it starts seeping into you and you have a day before it kills you.
Yeah. And during the negative thing we can change these. The
Yeah,
negative the negative
I like that.
the negative was permanently disfigure. So you have
Yeah,
you have negative on all charisma
charisma.
based checks except for intimidation because obviously I think
Yeah.
disfigured dude coming up to you and yelling at you is a little intimidating. Um, but there's also another one where it's once you get it inside and you pass. I like that if it shatters, then you have you know one
It
d4
just starts
days, 1d4 days
piercing your
before.
skull.
Yeah, 1d4 day before you die. So like now, what is that character gonna do and that player gonna do, knowing his imminent death is coming? Is he gonna sacrifice himself for the group in some ridiculous way? You know,
You could, yeah, you can do a
how does a
every so
character
many
handle that?
hours. I don't know. Well,
After so many hours, your permanent HP gets halved.
you, yeah, or like drops by a d20 or something,
Yeah,
or one of your hit dice.
yeah. And then once it gets inside, there's a step two to the smashing
Yeah,
element. I went really crazy on this one. Um, you have to do a Constitution saving throw again because
yeah.
that's the name of the game. Can you handle it?
Mm-hmm.
Remain in control. On a failure, you go berserk 1d6 rounds and you attack all allies and enemies alike.
So you're telling me this is the perfect thing for Wilbur.
Yeah,
Like getting this green skull in him is the Wilbur was the perfect character that I've ever created to do this. Because everything that we've discussed so far, Wilbur is like amazing at.
so funny. And I think
Oh,
that there's going to be, and then the unique role play effect. Once you get it in, if you do it this way, it changes. You no longer have
yeah.
the Seeker of Truth. You're now
Mm.
the Beast of Green Fury. And
Mm.
when your character drops below half point, you do a Wisdom saving throw. If you don't, you gain 2 damage, but you gain +2 damage, but you lose the ability to distinguish between friend and foe for
Mm.
however many like a
Until you
round.
get until you're healed above
Yeah, until you're
your
healed.
half hit points.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, I like that. It's just the one check each check every time you go under, every time you get damaged underneath it.
hmm
I like it.
I like the shattering of the skull. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I do.
And I like the you could also, there could be a side quest. I had in my mind a side quest. I don't want to ruin the story, but
No.
you guys are, if you want to use partial amnesia, the third method, there
Yeah.
there is a side quest where if it does shatter or it gets lodged, there's going to be something on partial amnesia that will shrink the group to a molecular level that will allow you to go into the
We
body, and your body will
we
then become the dungeon while the
well
characters go through it and try to grab the pieces.
here's the other thing that you could do with this. I know you said with partial amnesia, one of the failure points could be the tool breaks and there's a part of it stuck inside of his head. Um, but it doesn't have to be the partial amnesia that can shrink people. There that might have a shrink ray or a shrinking machine because Trigard is a magical city of the
Yes.
most incredible inventors in the world. Doesn't have to be in that little tool. And I know I have been hinting at, or I think I openly said that else. I think, yeah, it's just like finding that other quest giver, the person to help solve the problem. You
Yeah.
don't have to have the solution there for it.
Um, yeah, I just think it's going to be good. So
I
let's
I
just
th
dive
or
in. Hold on. Let's dive in
yeah,
before we go on
okay,
random
yeah,
tangents.
okay.
Um, third
It's me
thing.
tonight, not you.
Yeah, what you don't know. Yes,
Okay.
definitely. What you don't know. Partial amnesia. I guess this is
Mhm.
part two of the Let's Talk Lore Green Skull.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we haven't even got into the part two, the exciting part about what it does to you.
Uh-oh.
Partial amnesia. So partial amnesia is essentially the exact opposite of the total recall device that Arnold
Mhm.
Schwarzenegger uses to shove up his nose to take out the tracking device. It's this
Yep.
time you put the same exact looking thing, but it's
Yep.
stone, and you're shoving it in. So like,
Yep.
what is that? What's the? How do you do that? So first off, you have to find someone who knows how to use it, which is Doctor.
Well, the someone who knows how to use it is evil.
Yeah, evil, and I think a well-known doctor who might not know 100% how to use it, but who is well versed in the human anatomy or anatomies of all
Yeah.
kinds, is the other
Yeah.
doctor that's trying
He
to
could help
cure.
you try and figure it out.
Yes, gain advantage on using it is what
Well,
I'll tell the group.
my
Um,
my thought for that is meta. Evil has a book of notes of how to use partial amnesia. So
yes,
my thought is if you can convince evil to get those notes, you might gain advantage on using partial amnesia. And if not, like if you just have it, you have no idea how to fuck. You're just what shoving it in, hoping for the best.
I can't wait to meta all
The
week about the Notebook with you. It's gonna be amazing. Can't wait to read that
yeah.
text, Jane. That's
Um,
hilarious.
and but I was thinking the doctor could actually, instead of giving them advantage, can help them understand how to use it so that they could use it on their own. But if they have evil's notes, they have all the like special. They have the secret little twist that no one knows about, but evil put it in there that extends it up a little further, or
Yeah,
who knows what.
maybe that gives you the advantage.
Yeah, the book gives you the advantage to fine tune the tool when you're using it, not just use it.
Um, so what I had put together for the partial amnesia thing, and I don't know if we need to do it, but
Yeah,
was just like obviously there's gonna be a hard dexterity because
yeah.
you're going in to avoid, and who's rolling for who's using
Well,
it.
that's
It's a
I
two.
was
It's
just
a
thinking that
you
is
know
it a party member? Because it's definitely I don't think Stag's gonna want to shove this thing up his own nose.
yeah, no, you can't. You have to have someone else
No.
do it, and
Yeah.
maybe maybe you have a party member smash it into your head, but you have to do the strength check.
Yeah.
Um, but so like this dexterity, so like the person doing it, is he going to rupture a blood vessel,
Hmm.
damage your brain? And
Who knows?
if you suffer, you have a permanent intelligence and wisdom due to the neurological
Yeah.
damage. You're also going to take like a bunch of
Ev-
damage as
Yeah.
well.
I
Um,
think in general doing that, Stag if like just if all the rolls max out, Stag should die just from the force and pain of doing this. If there's no other help or aid applied to him.
yeah, and I think you'll lose. I think no matter what way you go, you're going to lose for a moment life major events in your life. You're going to forget,
Hmm.
which will which will be me giving you guys the ability to tell me a little bit more about your character. Because what events
Which
did you
events in
forget?
your life do
Yeah,
you
you forget
like?
two events. What events do you forget? And how is that going
Okay.
to affect? And maybe it's just one, you forget one of the most important memories that you have. And how is that going to affect your character's role playing from here on out?
Oh my goodness.
So does that change your character's alignment? That's a question that will happen later
It
on.
could.
But
It absolutely could.
you will
Um,
have the ability to remember it through dreams. So when you long rest, I might just give you a little oomph, if you need it. That's just nice.
well, well, how messed up is that going to be for a person? You completely forget a major turning point or moment in your life, and you start living your life without that, and then you get memories of it coming back.
Yeah, like
It's a movie,
stag banging the mind flayer. Like maybe you forget that. Maybe Matt's character forgets that the world is
and
flat.
you think the tentacle scar on his arm is just a tattoo or burn mark?
Yeah. Okay, so we could pause here and do a third Let's Talk Lore tonight about the effects of the green skull going
Okay,
in.
yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay,
Because this
so
was the
yeah,
process of putting it in.
give us a
Okay.
moment. We're going to be right back for the third part of the evening's Let's Talk Lore special third parter. Um,
Yeah.
the green skull, the green sage. what's going on with that.
Yeah.
Roll high, subscribe.
Okay.
This homebrew stuff is sick. I'm very excited for this part.
Oh, my throat is killing me.
No, it's good. I just cough right into the microphone. I don't even care at this point. Just ow, you know. Um, this is gonna be good. So I wanted the effects to be. I guess we could just jump right in, right?
Well, random thoughts. It's gonna be like once Stag has all the options, it's not an easy choice of which one you do.
You roll,
It's gonna be
or do
it's
you
gonna
pick?
be I think you pick.
Okay.
He's gonna be sitting there studying, and before they get back with partial amnesia, before he knows anything about it, he's gonna be trying to decide which of these first two methods
Now
he's
I
gonna want
want.
to do.
Yeah. Let's just get back. Welcome back. This is our third parter, special third parter. We usually only do two Let's Talk Lores, but tonight we're doing three. This very episode, we're finally going to talk about. It's taken 3.5 years, 85 sessions of 4-hour play. Multiplied, do that math. It's a long time. We're finally going to get into what the Green Skull does to the person when it melds with their brain and they finally become the Green Sage, the keeper of the Green Sage.
But before we get into that, roll high and subscribe.
Of course,
I'm
yeah.
Chris. That's Spencer.
Hit that button.
Let's get after it
Hit that button wherever it is.
somewhere.
So you've gone through the thing and you've put it in. You've gone through the ritual or you've shoved it in, and the Green Skull has finally melded inside your head, and you are now one with your characters, essentially like belonging to this campaign that I've created. You've succeeded
become
in
the
getting
sage.
the skull and become the sage.
Yeah.
The entire time that you have that in your body, you will lose health, permanent HP. I've decided there will be one.
Okay.
It will be like one HP. Maybe that's it per day or whatever. Maybe more. Maybe I don't know. If you want more or less.
I don't know.
I just think that there's an expiration date to
Because
this thing. Actually, maybe not. Maybe because it's going to be tricky. So we'll talk about if we need an expiration date.
yeah.
This is why I like doing it with you first. But
Well,
I have a
I
feeling like
think
Matt's going to want to shove his thing right in. But oh no, not he didn't have it. But Jake, I mean, you know.
yeah.
But
Well, I think the thing with the expiration date, I think if you
get through that ritual.
there's
Right?
there has to be there's some aspect of the skull that if you go against it in some way, it starts harming you
Oh, maybe
because
you'll
it's
just
trying to
do.
get out of you.
Maybe it'll be like if you harm plants,
Could be.
you
It could be
get
some random things. Yeah.
yeah.
Like the
Okay.
truest nature of like
Yeah.
the perfect balance
Yes.
of the green skull. And if you go against that principle, you get permanently harmed.
Or you just take significant. Yeah.
No,
Um.
I like the permanent damage because it is make things hard.
Yeah.
It's a core principle of this skull, and if you go against it, there has to be consequences. I think, yeah, you go against this. You're for the green skull, it starts to try and pull away. Constitution savings throw, you lose 1d8 permanent HP or something along those lines, or you gain another detrimental effect.
Let's see. Um.
Because I do like that if there has to be a way where the skull fights back.
Yes. So you're gonna have. I've created a table, and like everything that I do, it is alterable. Because I don't know exactly how that's gonna. I don't want it to bore the game or make it
Yeah.
too um, limiting. But I've created a table. It's a D10, but I guess you could pick
Yeah.
as you want. But
No, I'm
I was
I'm definitely
thinking,
gonna roll that.
yeah, I was thinking like, um, nothing can be removed by divine intervention.
Hmm.
You can have a wish spell. I wish I didn't have the green skull in my head. I
But
don't know if you're ever going to do that.
but then when you do that,
You have an empty
so because
void
the
that needs to
wish
be
spell,
filled. You'll have an empty void that needs to be
or,
filled.
or you get pulled back in time to the moment before the green skull's in your head, and you lost all of what you've gained since then.
So I think it's so the conclusion of my like research on the green skull. I did a whole bunch of stuff on like just from the real world, skulls, and then the color of green. Um, Green is a color that transcends boundaries, represents the natural world, growth, and hope. It embodies the dichotomy of wisdom and desire, makes a powerful symbol in various cultures and contexts. Whether soothing or our souls or invoking envy, Green's impact on our lives is undeniable. Blah blah blah. I like the idea of hope. So perhaps if your character does something to shatter the hopes of
Mm,
people, make it a role playing element,
yeah.
you get a negative, permanent negative, you know, you see people that are hopeful for something to
You.
happen. If you're like, well, your son's never going to return, he's obviously dead, you get
Oh,
negative, permanent
yeah.
negative, like,
I like that.
you know,
Oh, yeah.
or
Oh,
the villain is hopeful that he takes over the towers. Well, you're never going to do it, we're here to stop you. Well, you're going to take
boom.
some,
Mm.
you know,
It doesn't
um,
matter who it's against.
the
It's between you and the skull.
if it's natural.
Yeah.
So if the villain has spread a like is doing something within the natural order of something, but maybe I don't know. Like we'll have to play that out. But I think that that's
Yeah.
the hope. The hope
That's
aspect
something that
is what
can
will
we can develop and
yeah
then
yes
like
change the
come
video
up at
yeah.
time.
So I'm gonna read off the list of these
Okay.
permanent curses of the Green Skull. Hold on, that was the wrong thing. Um, so you roll for your every I was saying you roll for your long rest and you get to pick one of these. Now I didn't want it to be too powerful. I don't want to like up your stats too much with the group, but
Yeah.
some of these are pretty cool, and I want it to be role playing oriented. Now I'm up for
Yeah.
changing it if that's not your
No, I think
go-to.
there's a lot of all of this. It should be like your connection to the skull. The skull shouldn't give you like magical powers. I don't think it should give you a lot of like you can now like lift large objects with your mind, unless that's an aspect of the skull of maybe plants grow towards you kind of thing.
Right. So verdant clarity. The mind sharpens with wisdom of the ancient forest. Gain +2 intelligence and wisdom for the day. However, like all things, the color of green is not always good. It's not like
Hmm.
growing plants. It's also rot and fungi and shit. So the burden of knowledge. So you become intelligent wisdom, but the burden of knowledge. Every time you witness a lie, you feel the weight of deception. Roll a DC 14 Constitution save and suffer some mental strain.
Ooh.
That's one. Then you can always change these. So, but
Yeah.
and
I
I'm up
like that
for
idea of like there's this the positive and negative, and I
I
love that it changes every day.
and I want it to be more role playing, immersive oriented than just you get a +2 against grass, you know,
Well, it
or
the
like you can fly, that type of thing.
all these different elements of the nature of the skull, can you put an aspect or like a word for each one of those? Like how that represents the nature of the green skull.
Say that.
Like the
Ask me that
plus
again.
the so your like if
Oh,
I roll
pluses
a
or
three,
minus? Yes.
yeah, so like that the in my head, like I'm rolling and then he gets a feeling of say love.
Right.
And he just mechanically he feels more charismatic around people, but he also um has, and then a negative effect of something that also goes into that of he doesn't know when to stop loving or stop that desire or draw, and um
You're
it just goes overwhelming. I like the positive being that harmony and the negative being the imbalance, but of
nature's
a concept.
Here's another one. I mean, these are we can
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
change them as we go, and we'll always post what it
Yeah.
is when we finally get there. But
Yeah.
once we agree upon it, it's set.
It's there. Yeah, absolutely.
Nature's balance, the cycle of life flows through you. Once a day, when reduced to 0 HP, it turns to 1 HP instead. But with that comes your wounds fester unnaturally when you take them. Magical healing is halved.
Ooh.
So you get this like
Okay.
you get
Yeah.
this like ability to withstand and come back, but it's have and then healing. There's another one, healing growth. In direct sunlight, you regenerate 1 HP, but in shade, you have disadvantages on Constitution saves, which is not going to be good for you if you. But you can also figure out how to get natural light. Do you have an
Yeah.
item? This
You
opens up,
can't just use a light spell or something.
which
You
is
do
why
need the sunlight.
dude,
Which is
you're the green sage, dude.
yeah.
Obviously, you're gonna be on the search for like a cane that has light emitting out of it.
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
they're plants. Like
mm,
so like that's why
Yeah.
I like the tie between the sun and the
Yeah.
photosynthetic surge. Your body absorbs energy like a plant. You gain haste once a day or twice a day, however you want to do it. Um, Gluttony, but you have your metabolism burns at an unnatural speed, and you must consume a specific sort of plant plant food or whatever, or you
Or just
suffer.
so much food, 3 or 4 times as much food as you normally would
Yeah,
have to eat.
yeah. So like you're gonna have to figure out how to go steal food,
Yeah.
which is hilarious.
Well, something that all of this is brought up is um for each one of these, is there a physical change that happens to Stag?
Yeah. So
Like
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 the pho the
um
oh
yeah, the photosynthesis, or like the one where you gain hit points from the sunlight, does his skin start to turn green?
so you'll yeah, so like yes, so the shade, your skin takes on a sticky green color, you know,
Yeah.
like you're almost like a drowish looking.
Yeah.
Um, the next one is thorned guardian. Vines and thorns grow around you when threatened. When an enemy hits you with a melee attack, they take 1d6 piercing damage.
Hmm.
That's a cool one.
Yeah.
But unruly growth. You can't really control those thorns, so the
Yeah.
plants react wildly to your presence. You have to trim them and manicure them, or they just give you disadvantage on acrobatics and stealth checks if not
If
entirely
not pruned.
manicured. Yeah, not pruned. Emerald mind. Your senses sharp. The advantage of in insights investigation checks for the day. However, you hear whispers. The voices of the wild seep in through your thoughts.
Mhm.
Um, so it's like a pluses or minuses. There's a lot of like role play aspect to this, but I didn't. If you want more like okay, um,
I know, I love that role play aspect of it. And I think that's the what we talked about before of like the aspects of the sages, the influence of the sages coming out whenever they want to, of like them trying to push themselves out. The randomness of all of these different elements of the skull is fun. Can be every day is a different stag. Hopefully he survives. Every day is a different stag
it's
in this
so
element
funny.
of nature.
You're gonna love this one. I think you're gonna pick seven all the time. Symbiosis with the wilds. You may speak with and understand all plants and all animals for the day. They instinctively recognize you as the protector. The
I
opposite.
don't. I'm not gonna pick. I'm always gonna roll
Yeah.
because I
They,
love that, but no, I love the
this
randomness.
one's so funny.
Yeah,
Nature's call, small creatures and vines. The opposite to that, the negative.
yeah.
Uh, small creatures and vines cling to you, like little whatever, like a squirrel or
What
whatever.
what
Every
like
short
a
and long
3-year-old?
rest, yeah, every short and long rest, you roll a d6. On a 1 or a 2, a small animal or plant roots itself in your gear or clothes, hindering your movement and halving your speed for 1 hour unless removed. So the squirrel's just gnawing at it, or whatever. That's so funny.
Not
So
not a short or long rest. Make that every hour. Because if you can remove it, then you're gonna be like, oh shit, the squirrel. Hi squirrel. Oh, you're up my leg.
yeah,
Oh
they
shit.
follow you. They follow you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't keep them at bay, they
Yeah.
they get in there. Here's another one. You see a hidden secrets. Power of the Emerald Eye. You see the hidden secrets of the world. Once a day, you can cast True Seeing in a non-spell slot. So I would imagine that means that you can see the invisible. You can see
I think
True
the
Sight.
true, yeah,
True
true
Sight.
sight. You can see everything. Let me
Yeah.
pull.
But the opposite is that after using this ability of True Seeing, you roll a d6, and on a 1 or 2, you glimpse an unspeakable cosmic entity lurking beyond reality. Roll a DC 15 Wisdom, or suffer short-term madness. Who's that world building experience?
Yeah, I like it.
There's two
I'm,
more. There's
I'm
two
loving
more.
all.
I'm just gonna power through it. The
Oh, cool.
fungal resurgence. When you take damage, spores burst from your wounds. Roll 1d6 on a 4 or 6. You regain that many hit points as the fungal network. And you know me, my network in the Underdark. Random tangent alert. And DM recommendation: use the fungal network that's actually real in the world. If a mushroom gets hit, um, it alerts the mushroom, local mushroom people. I feel like they're all sort of interconnected in that sense.
Yeah.
Or the mushrooms in the area sort of all know you're aware. So if you're there, so whatever a mushroom would do to protect itself, maybe they all start protecting themselves. Just the physical mushroom, not the like the you know.
Yeah.
Um. So anyway, you get that was my random tangent. Sorry, not sorry. Had to get that out. But the opposite of that is rotting hunger. The fungal spores require you and demand sustenance. So if you don't eat, you take necrotic damage every hour.
I like it.
And the last one was the Green Warden's Wrath. Once per long rest, you can unleash a full force of nature around you. For 1 minute, plants within 30 feet. So 1 minute is how many turns?
Uh, 1 minute is 10 rounds.
That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
For a minute, you can do this. That's why number 10 is the huge one.
Yeah.
Plants within 30 feet become animated and restrain enemies. Um, there's a save. Beasts and plants, creatures within 60 feet fight for you as allies for the duration. You can
Oh, that's huge.
cast. Call lightning as a
Oh, hell
bonus
yeah.
action. Without using a spell slot.
Once a day.
The
Wow.
opposite, though,
Wait, so can you cast that during that 1 minute as a bonus action?
as you can cast Call Lightning as a bonus action without using a spell slot.
Spell slot. That's with all the plants and animals
As
restraining and fighting for you.
as a bonus action,
Yeah.
not as continuous bonus
Oh,
actions.
just once during that.
To be determined. See how it goes. Um, lands the opposite though, the negative feature. After using this, your body withers for 24 hours. Your speed
Ooh.
is halved. You cannot regain HP from magic healing. I mean, it's a huge. You just
Oh yeah. Yeah,
your
you did
your
something ridiculous.
skin takes on a bark-like structure, permanent,
Ooh,
causing disadvantage on your already advantaged charisma checks as you're you know.
because I'm
Yeah,
okay.
but I think like a bark creature to be DM's discretion. You are intimidating if you're a bark guy. I mean, you know, that's I don't want to be.
Well, I mean, he is a satyr already.
Yeah, it's really
So I mean,
that.
like, how much more ridiculous can it get?
So those are some ideas I've been working with for the Green Skull. I wanted it to be sort of themed from our Let's Talk lore and from our Dungeon Doomhand, Agoth Doomhand, and Skulls of Power. I like the idea of the power really being it sort of promotes a role playing element to the
Yeah,
game that isn't just because these items that you get are cool. Okay, you can fly, you can teleport, you can go to a
you
plane
heal,
shift,
do
you
all
can
this
there's
stuff.
so you
Yeah,
can do a wish spell, but even the wish spell, there's sometimes there's a lack of the immersion. Like I want the item to immerse the character in. So now
yeah,
you have to remember, when you do that, it's got to be the right time, dude. Like,
mm-hmm.
and do it when there's creatures around.
Yeah.
Um,
When yeah,
do you have call? Do you have now? Are you on the search for an item that helps you call animals? I don't know. Um, and do you lose these? You pick them. Um, some of these negative features go on for days. So
I'm I'm just thinking the positive features last for a day.
right, but you can
The
also
negative
long rest.
features, the negative features take a D4 to fall off or something. Or I don't know.
I just think like do you reset every long rest? Do their negative features reset every long rest? Do you
I,
do this every long rest? Do you choose this every long rest, or do you do it once a day? Do
or
you
can you choose to, or it could
whatever?
be you commune with the skull. Like during a long rest, you can choose to commune with the skull,
Yes,
and during that time, you
you
can
roll and
roll
change
on
your.
the table.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
So if you have one and you know you're gonna want to stay with this one for a while, you can stay with it, and then you could roll and try and reset.
Yeah,
And
so
then maybe it takes a
you'll
D4 or a
yeah to
D6
to
to
get it to
reset the
drop.
negative.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to get it to drop. I
I
like
like it.
that. Yes.
So
Um,
the positive ends right away, but the negative tapers off.
so I liked the idea of it constantly wearing on you.
Hmm.
The more you have it, the more of a burden it is. So I liked the idea that there was some aspect to this thing that sort of like the ring of power. Like the more you have
Yeah.
it, the more it corrupts you.
Well, the more you
Um,
commune with it, every time you commune to change it, you take the permanent negative effect.
right. Or it's like the harder it gets. But I was thinking of a different table. Um, permanent drawbacks. So every time
Every
that
time
you
you change, roll a d20. If you get a 1, you get a
yeah,
permanent
or
drawback or
like
something.
or like yeah, if you every time you change your commune with the skull, you
Hmm.
have to roll and you get a curse of some kind. Um, photosynthesis overload. Uh, you must have direct sunlight at least at least an hour a day, or you suffer disadvantage permanently.
Yeah.
Permanently. So on days that you don't see sunlight, you have disadvantage on Constitution saves. That goes with the green. You know,
Yeah.
nature's favorite seat. Plants grow. Maybe I'll make the. I don't want it to be too powerful because the other players that don't have the skulls are gonna be like, what the fuck.
Yeah.
So I like the role playing aspect, but this is where the permanent curse, because it's
It's a
um
crazy thing that was made by horrible gods.
yes, nature's favorite seat. Plants grow where you sit.
Hmm.
Where they sit, the plants grow where you sit permanently
Yep.
for more than a minute. No indoor voice. Disadvantage on stealth checks due to involuntary shouting. The power of the sublime.
That is great. I love that.
Green thumb, literally. Hands are permanently stained green, making formal social interactions harder. That's just a
It's got to wear gloves.
yeah. So like these permanent things are not like
Mm.
deadly, but it's just like
No,
this is
there's
what happens to you.
yeah,
And imagine you do it 10 times, you get all of these things.
yeah.
You have no permanent voice. Plants grow where you sit. You have to have sunlight.
Your
You
green
you,
hands.
you have green hands and you have uncontrollable vine hair. Essentially, you're turning into like a tree ant.
Yeah,
Essentially, it was,
yeah.
hair turns into living vines. Another one is one who you cannot walk silently on on natural ground. That's just so funny. I cannot wait to do the Red Skull one or Matt's Gray Skull. It's gonna be fucking crazy. Another one is you hear plants scream when you eat them. Maybe I'll just make that something that
That
happens
that just
to
that just happens.
to everyone.
Yeah.
Um, Jealous of the trees. Trees drop debris on you at inconvenient moments. So jealousy of the trees, because
Random
um,
acorn on your head.
yeah, the lichen liquor. Your skin is always damp and attracts frogs and insects. And then the emerald eyes betrayer of lies. Your eyes glow green when you lie. Like those are
Cool.
permanent. Um, and
I like
we could
that.
alter.
Yeah.
Just and
I
they're
I
not
love the
supposed to be
ideas.
like you die, but like
Yeah.
you now have to
You are
figure that out.
becoming. I love the idea of like the permanent effects that you are slowly becoming more in tune with this,
It's like
with this
if
nature.
it's here it is. So you have a plus or a negative feature that you can pick from, and every time you roll or every time you change, you have to roll, and if you fail, you get one of these permanent curses. The
Yeah.
permanent curses aren't really that bad, but they are hilarious.
Yeah.
The act of putting the skull in is one that it takes a long time. This is a very powerful object. It's essentially the whole point of the story.
Yeah.
So it's going to be life threatening to do that. Um, but the green skull, essentially, it's like the movie The Fly,
Hmm.
except for instead of it being a fly that goes into the transportation device, it's like a bush. And you're sitting there, you're like, oh, this is weird, and it's like a mushroom grows out of your fingernail, and you
Like, oh,
I
okay.
really
Ah!
yeah, and these
You hear the screaming.
I think on this permanent drawbacks, once you get it, you cross it off, and if you
Yeah, and then
re-roll it,
re-roll.
yeah,
Yeah.
re-roll and
Until you
that
get them all.
yeah, and that's essentially it. Now the question is, if your character dies, um, what happens? I don't think that you can once you are attuned to that skull, it's yours. Like I
Yeah.
don't think you can lose it. I don't think you can,
The
can't be
only way you
stolen.
can, the
Is
only way
through
the skull can come out is if your
someone
head
takes your
is
head.
the, yeah.
Yeah, some take a head to take a skull. It's
Yeah.
the old quote. So that's what I had planned. We can change it. I will send you
I
these
love the
these
framework that you've done. I
yeah,
like I don't want to see the final like your
table.
final charts tables and like until I have to roll on them.
Yeah,
But the
until you
concepts, I think you've like gone the right direction that we've been
yeah,
talking about.
thanks. I think like I don't want to overpower because like having
Oh,
one player that's overpowered, and we could talk about that too,
yeah.
is too much. It's
I
too
I love that how role play centric it is.
Yeah.
It's really transforming the nature of your character into a more in tuned uh, union with the aspects of the skull, of nature, of hope, of love, of growth and expansion, of death, decay. You're
I
just looking at all the horrible things that are going to happen to me.
yeah, I have something. So this person named Madsen Walker just wrote, "I'm a rogue gnome, super awkward, super acrobatic. Any lore that would be good to add into my backstory?" Question mark.
Random tangent.
Oh yeah, let me hit that.
Hold on.
For you, Mister Walker. Random tangent. Here we go. Yeah, sure. Here's some
Okay.
lore. Chris,
Reread
start
that.
us off. I'm a rogue gnome, super awkward, super acrobatic. Any lore that would be good to add into my backstory, Chris?
Gnome rogue, awkward. Um, so the first thing that comes to my mind is you're acrobatic because you are trying to get away from situations that are really awkward and you feel uncomfortable about it. So my mind goes to a major situation where you could have a very positive like turning point in your life of you got a job, you met this love of your life, but you just couldn't be in the situation. Or you're about to get married and you decide, I can't do this. This is just not right. There's too many people. I have to get out and you bolt the hell out of there.
Yeah, I think so. Any lore that would be good to add to it. Lore. Um, sure. First off, hey, how you doing? What's your name? Where are you from? That's my favorite. Chris took me to when I was playing an NPC, and he just went over to me, and I was like, "God, I didn't really prepare tonight." It's like, "Don't worry, I got you." You didn't say that, but that's essentially what you did. You're like, "I got you. Don't worry, I got you. I'll help you world build." Hey, man, what's your name? And where's the bar? Like, where's the bar? Where's the king? What's going on here? I was like, oh shit, I'm unprepared. Um, so super acrobatic. Yeah, he's awkward. Why is he awkward? Any lore to that? Is he shy? I guess the question is the lore. Super acrobatic rogue gnome. He's a thief. There's got to be a reason why he's stealing. What is he stealing? What is he searching for? He's a gnome. Is he from the Underdark? Where does he live? Who does he worship? Does he worship no one? If he's a rogue, he's probably on it by himself. He's awkward. That fits perfectly with being an awkward gnome by yourself. He's super acrobatic though. So like I feel like the acrobatic, is he a circus guy?
I was thinking, just thinking, is he a dancer?
Yeah, a clown, a mime.
You're a,
Not all rogues have to be like. Not all rogues have to come in
have
like
to be
this.
have the
Like
hood up. Yeah.
yeah, they can be a little
He
gnome
he does mime
gnome.
performances and steals
Yeah,
from people.
and he does that with ease.
Hmm.
I can't wait to create this guy. That's hilarious. Thank you, Madsen Walker. Hope that that little lore. I don't. Do we do a lore there? Yeah, yeah.
I don't I it's hard for me, it's hard to do lore
On the
for
go.
a character. Yeah. Well, especially someone else's character, because when I drop all my lore on my own, it's I have the concept of how I want to roleplay them in my head. And once I have that idea of the roleplay, continued tangent alert. Once that well, actually, it's not a huge tangent. Once I have that concept of roleplay, then I start picking those aspects. I'm like, why is this part of his roleplay? So, what situation caused the awkwardness? What
Yeah,
situation caused the acrobatics part? That the acrobatics team might have gone to, might have lived or worked for the circus for a while.
yeah. It
The
works well.
awkwardness,
Awkwardness. He's in a circus, dude.
yeah.
There's no
There you
person that
go.
works in a circus that's not awkward.
Awkward. There you go. There's your lore backstory. You lived in a circus. You worked for a circus.
Maybe I should. So I brought my wife and my daughter to the Big Apple Circus, and we were sitting really close. I think it was like COVID-ish esque time period. I think people were still worried about going out, and so we
Yeah.
sat close, first row. The clown came over to me, and he was like, "Here, hold this rope," and I kept on letting go, and he kept on pulling it. But he whispered to me, let go, and I let
Yeah.
go. But I think no matter how hard he pulled it, that was part of the skit. And then he's like,
Yeah.
"Do me a favor, don't let go on this one." And I was like, "This is awkward."
Yeah.
So like maybe that's your story for your character, whose name is I don't know. What's his name? How you doing?
Oh. Well, let us know in the comments once this finishes on whatever platform you're watching.
Yeah,
Let us know what the name of your character ends up being
yeah, and
and what lore you end up taking into a story.
yeah. If anyone else has any interesting lore to add to this gnome guy, but to get back to the topic at hand, I think that was pretty cool. I have to now spend at least. I know that you're going to be giving back the DM reins. It's like maybe a session or two
I think
sessions.
at least two.
Yeah, maybe
Two to
three. Yeah, so I
with the
have.
way things are slowing and
Yeah,
like the story is happening, but the like foot distance
yeah, that was funny.
is slowing down. I
I
think
really,
it's gonna speed up quickly,
I really
but
found my character.
yeah, you did. I'm happy that you've had this time to like just sit in the character. But
Yeah.
another tangent alert. This is why we don't do three Let's Talk Lore sessions because the third one is just all tangents.
Tangent.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I think like 2 to 3 sessions until we get back to you before we'd
yeah.
need to finalize any of the tables.
I'm very excited for Monday. It's gonna be sick.
But even once we get back, there's still gonna be a couple
Oh
sessions
yeah.
before anything happens. So these tables we're not gonna need for
Yeah,
a
another
while.
another 86 sessions.
No,
I
hopefully
I
not.
at least have to make the red and blue ones because I know that Matt's gonna want to shove it, or Jake is gonna want to shove it in as soon as possible. But it's also been really cool. Your character's gonna know where the remainder skulls are, and also I haven't decided yet. Are there more?
I
Maybe.
don't know. Well, all we know is that they've one skull shattered, one prismatic skull shattered into many. We know it's more than primary colors.
Yeah. And what's going on with the white skull?
I don't know. We don't have the white skull.
Yeah.
We just have a key or a single ring. Single ring? I think a ring.
Ring.
I don't know who has that.
I know.
Of
Till
course you
next
know.
time. Yeah, till next time. Thanks for joining. Roll high, subscribe. We will be back in 2 weeks. But until then, join us on Monday night for Chris's DMing of our epic homebrew campaign, Agoth Doomhand and the Skulls of Power. I cannot wait to be the DM again. I might just kill my character immediately. I don't know. But until then,
No,
we'll see
we
you.
have to get Callie home.
That's true.
She has gone through so
She
much.
has a whole bag of randomly rolled on one table. She has a bag of 1d6 owl